Ottawa revs up for a political battle over the auto sector, while questions are raised about the future of Pierre Poilievre's time as opposition leader. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
The answers you need
from the people in the know.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
Back in business. The House of Commons is back after a week away for MPs following Thanksgiving. And the Carney Liberals are in for an immediate grilling after the automaker Stellantis announced it would move production of the Jeep Compass SUV out of Ontario to Illinois, putting 3,000 jobs at risk. The Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, has asked for an emergency debate in the House of Commons about that news, and the Conservatives want the House of Commons Industry Committee to dig into what promises the Liberals have made to Stellantis over the years, only to see a plant in Brampton effectively shut down. Speaking in Etobicoke last week, Prime Minister Carney said he's disappointed with the news about Stellantis and told the head of Stellantis as much, but he added that some of those workers could get jobs at a Stellantis plant in Windsor.
I spoke with the global head of Stellantis 2 days ago. In advance of the announcement, I expressed disappointment on their decision to shift where the Jeep production was. I reminded the global CEO of those undertakings and that partnership that's been there. I received assurances from the global CEO of two things. One, that they're looking at different model being produced in Brampton. That decision would be taken in the context of the finalization of the USMCA, to use the American term, CUSMA, to use our term, negotiations, and as well that support would be provided for workers. We're working with them, we're working with Unifor, working with the province to ensure that those workers for Brampton have more than just the opportunity, and they do have the opportunity to move to the additional shift that is being put on at Stellantis' other facility. But because there's 1,500 jobs coming with that third shift there, but also that they have comparable support to what they receive at present while the Brampton factory is idle.
Ontario is home to most of the auto sector jobs in this country, and Ontario Premier Doug Ford was speaking in Kenora last week. He called on Prime Minister Carney to hit back against tariffs from the Trump administration.
Is if you can't get a deal, let's start hitting him back. Let's start hitting the U.S. back hard, because all Trump does is continue. We're nice, play nice in the sandbox, and today is another tour. Yesterday is 10% on softwood lumber. After it was 35%, he increased it 10%. And then he all of a sudden, one day out of the blue, someone must have told him cabinet makers. And we should ship a lot of cabinets down there. And all of a sudden now there's a tariff there. I am sick and tired of sitting and rolling over. We need to fight back. Folks, we are an economic powerhouse. We buy $356 billion of goods, Canada does, off the U.S. We're the number one customer to the U.S. No one in the world buys more goods than what we do. We need to start hitting back and hitting back hard. That's the only thing this person understands. Sir, I just get pumped up talking about this guy. He drives me absolutely crazy. He does. And we aren't going to roll over. I'm not going to let him roll over Ontario, I'll tell you that.
On the Stellantis decision, Premier Ford vowed he won't give Stellantis any public money unless that Brampton plant remains open.
I'm not going to give him a penny because it was tied in to making sure Windsor and keep Brampton going. And we haven't given them a penny for Brampton yet. We gave them about $55 million out of the couple billion that the feds and I and the companies agreed. You know, it's disappointing. They said they're going to keep Brampton open. I had a conversation with the president of Stellantis yesterday. He said, well, we're going to postpone it for a year. We're going to find a new model. You know, I don't understand. They're investing $13 billion in the U.S. We're, you know, an auto manufacturing powerhouse here. They're going to transfer 1,500. The only good news, there's no good news, but the only good news is they're adding a third shift in Windsor, and they're going to try to transfer 1,500 people from Brampton down to Windsor. But we're competitive. We can produce the best vehicles anywhere in the entire world, right here in Ontario. So I'm going to keep pushing like they've never seen before.
While the Carney Liberals prepare for an onslaught over layoffs in the auto sector, the spotlight will also be on the Conservative Party leader, Pierre Poilievre. Poilievre told a very popular political webcast called Northern Perspective that many of the scandals of the Trudeau era, quote, should have involved jail time, and, quote, Trudeau broke the criminal code when he took a free vacation from someone with whom he had government business. Pierre Poilievre went on to accuse the RCMP of, quote, covering up for him. The commissioner of the RCMP is Mike Dehem, who claimed the RCMP investigated scandals like SNC-Lavalin and found no criminal wrongdoing.
So I think we've talked about SNC-Lavalin quite a lot under the previous government, and I think it was clear that there's no interference. I don't take any orders from any political individual. And as far as his comment with regards to senior management, I would invite Mr. Poilievre to meet with us and to meet with the people who run this great organization, 32,000 strong. So.
The comments from Poilievre, though, has Ottawa buzzing, with some suggesting it sounds Trump-like, with others going so far as to say Poilievre could be in danger when it's time for his leadership review in January, and even some are suggesting that higher-ups in the Conservative Party are plotting a coup. Poilievre, though, doesn't seem concerned. He posted a video on social media last night accusing the Prime Minister of speaking gibberish on purpose.
You see, there's only three explanations for speaking in gibberish that no one can understand. Either one, you don't know what you're talking about, two, you don't want others to know, or three, some combination of both. And I suspect that in Mr. Carney's case, it's the third option. Mr. Carney is sitting there with a group of global elites talking about things that they don't understand to obscure the fact that at the end of the day, what the real agenda is to rip off the working class people through excess complexity. That's right. By overly complicating simple things, they're able to rip off the very people who are paying the bills.
So another political week begins with the federal budget coming 2 weeks from tomorrow. Today's House of Commons session began about an hour ago, and there will be a question period today and a little more than 2 hours from now. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Well, it's a big day in politics. In Alberta, municipal elections are being held across that province today. So there are elections today in 19 cities, 105 towns, 78 villages, 63 municipal districts, with residents casting votes for mayors, reeves, councillors, and school board trustees. The big race to watch is in Calgary in the race for mayor. Stephen Carter is with us, the president of Decide Campaigns. He's worked on many Calgary campaigns in the past. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks very much for having me, Rob. This is a big day for Calgary and Edmonton politics.
What have the big issues been in Calgary?
Well, rezoning would be the biggest issue. We've had a citywide rezoning that has the city pretty much split right down the middle. Half the city thinks it's the worst thing in the world, and the other half thinks it's the best thing that's ever happened. So between those two, we're seeing quite a lot of fighting for votes. I think that most candidates are on the no side, but there's a lot of candidates still pushing for to keep rezoning. It'll be quite interesting to see what City Council looks like. On the rezoning file especially, will we be seeing a full-scale repeal? Will we be seeing some tinkering? What will we be seeing?
The incumbent mayor in Calgary is Jyoti Gondek. What have the challenges been for her re-election campaign?
Well, I mean, she's really suffering. She had a 12% approval rating heading into the election. I think she's outperforming that approval rating, but just barely. For the most part, she's seeing all kinds of uphill battles as an incumbent that hasn't been particularly popular. So in the this coming election today, we very well could see the loss of an incumbent for the first time in almost 50 years. It hasn't happened since 1980 when Ralph Klein, that most Canadians know the name of, ran for mayor in 1980 and beat Ross Alger, who was the incumbent at the time. That is the last time an incumbent has lost in our city.
Wow. Two strong challengers in Jeremy Farkas and Sonia Sharp. How could that impact the race? If I'm an incumbent mayor, I want as many people in the race as possible. How could that impact the race, do you think?
Well, it's even more than that. Janet Brown said that the top 5 candidates, any one of them could win. So you have Jeremy Farkas, you have Sonia Sharp, you have Jeff Davison, and you have Brian Thiessen, all racing against Jyoti Gondek. And I think that there's a lot of Calgarians that view the 5-way split as the worst possible outcome. Where Jyoti only really needs to get 25% of the vote and she could win. And on top of that, Rob, we're also seeing lower voter turnout. The rules were changed by the provincial government for this election, and as a result, we're seeing lower turnout by about 40%, which is a significant amount to be down already just through the advance polls. On top of that, I'm not sure if you're aware, but those Blue Jays forcing a Game 7 may also.
I'm aware.
I'm sure you are. But that's going to cost us another 2 or 3% of the population who won't come out and vote because they've got other things on their minds. This could turn out to be someone squeaking through and winning the election without really winning very much of the population or the population vote at all. We may see, we're a city of 1.6 million people in Calgary. Someone could win the mayor's chair with just under 100,000 votes.
Wow. Who do you think Premier Danielle Smith wants to win?
Oh, there's no question. It's Sonia Sharp. Sonia Sharp has taken advantage of the party rules that Premier Smith created. She's the one that everybody has seen as the income, as the premier's chosen one. So far, Premier Smith has taken Sonia Sharp to a number of fundraisers. She's taken her to a number of UCP events, introduced her as the next mayor. There is no question who Premier Smith wants to see in the chair, and that's Sonia Sharp. Even though there's ostensibly three conservatives in the race, Danielle Smith has made her choice, and that choice is Sonia Sharp. I'm really interested to see how that unfolds, whether or not Calgarians really want a taste of Danielle Smith-style politics at both the provincial level and the civic level. I think it would be a bit much for Calgarians' stomach.
When do you think people will find out who won?
Well, I think that we'll be finding out sometime around 6 a.m. Eastern time. To be honest, we're looking. They're shutting down the counts at 1 o'clock in the morning, so I don't think we're going to be done the counts until sometime in the early afternoon tomorrow. So we'll probably have we might have a mayor announcement by 1 o'clock in the morning here, but realistically, we're looking at an announcement sometime tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us. Great to hear from you.
Thanks very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Stephen Carter with Decide Campaigns. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
If you're ever looking for a podcast of our show, Now You Know with Rob Snow, there's a great new mobile app that will help you hear our show when you want to. Listen live, listen to the podcast. It's called the Seeker app. That's Seeker, spelled S-E-E-K-R. And it has all kinds of exclusive audio that you won't hear anywhere else. News, music, and sports. You can download Seeker for iOS or Android. That's Seeker, spelled S-E-E-K-R. And Now You Know with Rob Snow is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Well, feel free, Jays fans, to use whatever sports cliche you want. It's for all the marbles. It's win or go home. It's do or die. It's the Toronto Blue Jays and Seattle Mariners. Tonight, Game 7 of the American League Championship Series with a trip to the World Series on the line. After dropping the 5th game of the series in Seattle, the Jays were back at home at Rogers Center in Toronto for Game 6, and it was the Jays' rookie pitching phenom on the mound, Trey Savage. He did everything you could ask for. He pitched 5 2/3, gave up 6 hits, 2 runs, struck out 7, but he did get a lot of help from his infielders. Oh, yes, they bailed him out of 2 bases-loaded jams by turning double plays. Jays actually had 3 of those on the night. As for the Jays' offense, gosh, what can you say about Ernie Clement? His hot streak continued in the 3rd inning with a triple off the left field wall.
Fly ball, left field, well hit. It's off the wall. And Clement is around second and heading for 3rd, and in there with a stand-up triple.
And then it was Addison Barger's turn, who went deep to right field. So that put the Jays up 4-0. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. also had another home run, his 6th of the postseason.
Guerrero with a fly ball, deep left field, it is gone.
That put the Jays up 5-0 by the 5th inning. Guerrero also scored the 6th run for the Blue Jays on a wild pitch while he was at third base. The bullpen did its job. Louis Varland struck out 2 batters in 1 1/3 innings, and then Jeff Hoffman came in for the 8th and 9th, struck out 4 over those final 2 innings. He earns the save. So, what's the game plan for tonight, Coach? Here's Jays General Manager John Schneider, who said, "Go out and do it again tomorrow."
Got to enjoy it, man. This is what we sign up for. Whenever you can play for Game 7 to go to the World Series, it sounds kind of cool to say it, but this is why we sacrifice everything. It's why players sacrifice everything. Again, it's special and unique, but you have to look at it as a game. Again, easier said than done, but really happy with the way we played today. Got to come out and do it again tomorrow.
Well, now tomorrow has arrived. Game time tonight is 8 o'clock Eastern time, and it's on Sportsnet, of course, and all across the Blue Jays radio network, including the radio station you're listening to right now. And for our listeners in Calgary, we'll have the Blue Jays game for you tonight, and then because it's municipal election day in Calgary, we'll have all the Calgary municipal election results as they start to come in on a big day in Alberta politics and a big day for Jays fans. I'm Rob Snow. Our Newsday panel is just ahead. Brian Lilley, Tasha Kheriddin today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you'll join us right after the latest breaking news on News Radio. It's time for our Monday Newsday political panel. We have a pair of great political columnists and commentators today. You often read Tasha Kheriddin in the National Post. How are you today?
I am good, Rob. Nice to be here.
Great to hear from you. And my old friend Brian Lilley, must read in the Toronto Sun. How are you?
I'm just sitting watching all this coverage of the heist at the Louvre, trying to figure out how it all happened. I'm great.
It's like a movie.
Isn't that something? Now we're going to talk politics, but I mean, in Toronto, nobody wants to even think about politics. It's all about Game 7 tonight, I suspect, Brian.
Well, Tasha and I live near each other, and
Okay.
I don't know about you, Tasha, but I am hyped for this. I was so nervous on my couch last night. I wasn't at the game. I'm nervous, and I was like, am I going to throw up at the end of this?
You know, though, we've seen this movie before. They get so close, and then. So I'm trying to keep my distance. I'm trying, go Jays. It's all good, but yeah, let's not catastrophize if it doesn't happen.
All right. Okay. Well, look, I will be taking a nice long afternoon nap so I can stay up late. I don't usually this game usually will extend past my bedtime, but I will
That's
be ready to
true.
go, Jays jersey and all. Let's talk about politics. Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre is facing a leadership review in January, but we have all kinds of speculation in the Ottawa political media that Pierre Poilievre's leadership could be in trouble. What do you think of that speculation, Tasha?
Well, it depends how you define trouble. Is it a caucus issue? Is it a supporter issue? Is it people outside the party issue, as in a voter issue? Because trouble would mean that when he goes to his convention in January, he will get a really, tepid endorsement. That would be trouble. That would be a public sign of trouble. I don't think that's going to happen because I think from what I've seen in polling, the base, the conservative membership, is pretty solid, and they're having this convention in Calgary. So, whereas his hometown, basically his home province, I don't think he's going to have any problem getting a really high score. The grumbling, though, is real. On the other front, there are people grumbling in caucus, and there are people grumbling who are outside the party but conservative-leaning voters, and there are people in the party, too, who won't go to this convention. So it's not nothing, but I don't think he's in danger now.
Okay. What do you think, Brian?
I think that the piece in the Toronto Star, I think it's important to acknowledge that there was a piece in the Toronto Star by a former Harper staffer that kicked off the knives are out narrative. Well, look, I know Dimitri Soudis. I like him. We talk now and again. But Dimitri does not speak for Stephen Harper, which is how the Star framed it. I'm not saying Dimitri framed it that way, but the Star framed it that way. And then a bunch of people like Lawrence Martin at the Globe and Mail said, oh, well, Dimitri Soudis would never have written this piece in the Toronto Star unless Harper endorsed it. If you know the people, like Corey Tanaik could come out with a piece tomorrow and just be really critical of Pierre Poilievre. And if anyone said, well, he wouldn't have said this without Harper's permission, then you don't know that Tanaik and Harper don't really talk. And I don't believe that Soudis and Harper really talk anymore. Just because you worked for someone at some point doesn't mean that you're still super close. So I think there's too much read into what was said. Is there grumbling within the Conservative Party? Absolutely. I wrote about that when I came back from Stampede. I was talking to rock-ribbed Conservative Albertans who were upset with Pierre. Does that mean there's an attempt to replace him? In my experience, no, not from caucus, not from the base, and until the end of January, those are the only two groups that Poilievre needs to worry about. After January, to get the solid endorsement, then he has to worry about the general public. Until then, it's all about the leadership review.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, Tasha, one of the things I've been thinking about is it was obviously for Conservatives, not the election result they were hoping for, especially given where they were in the polls in advance of the latest election, but an admirable showing nonetheless, best since the late 80s. There doesn't seem to be anyone in the caucus who is willing to go in front of a microphone and say, this guy's got to go, which leads me to believe, if not Poilievre as Conservative leader, then who do these people have in mind? What do you think?
Well, that's the question. There's no obvious answer to that. There are rumors of people who might be theoretically interested in the job, and you hear, Doug Ford. You even hear Danielle Smith. You hear people just chattering idly about this stuff. You hear people saying, somebody wants to put in Mulrooney, as in either Caroline or her brother. It is like there's a constant drumbeat of like potential, the water cooler chatter of this. But it is not right now, at least what I can see, and people I've talked to, there's no movement to dump Pierre in favor of X. There's no one who is sitting there plotting and, said to Dimitri, hey, put a bug in his ear, gotta write this. I think Dimitri's reaction was legitimate in the sense that I thought Poilievre's statements, about Trudeau were really misplaced and unfortunate because it was a throwback to the old Pierre. Poilievre has changed since the election. He has tried to appear more statesmanlike. He has been more proposer than simply an opposer. And the Conservatives have come out with some very good stuff, like the jail not bail, which, didn't pass. But now guess what? Carney's stolen their thunder on that too. The Conservative Party has been acting more serious. And then he goes off and he does this. And the same week that Donald Trump goes after, Bolton, it just looked really bad. So that was the problem, I thought, for Pierre Poilievre, was he did it to himself. He knifed himself, essentially, on this one.
Self-inflicted wound. Okay, I'll ask Brian about that to weigh in on that when we come back. Oh, Brian, just hang on. Be right back. Monday, Newsday, political panel here on News Radio.
You have questions.
Now you know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
It's our Monday Newsday political panel with Tasha Kheriddin and Brian Lilley today. So, Brian, Poilievre went on this very popular webcast called Northern Perspective. He was asked about what he would do differently from Justin Trudeau about the Liberal-era scandals, and he said the Trudeau-era scandals, quote, should have involved jail time. Trudeau broke the criminal code when he took a free vacation from someone with whom he had government business, and then he accused the RCMP of, quote, covering up for him. What do you think of remarks like that?
Well, there's two things to ask yourself in light of those remarks. Do they help him politically? And the answer to that is no, in part because all of a sudden my colleagues in the media forgot to, how to Google the criminal code and look up what the criminal code actually says, or they forgot what they reported on at the time. So it doesn't help him politically. In fact, it probably hurts him politically with the general public voting base, which, as I said earlier, he doesn't need to pay attention to until he wins the leadership review. But then the second question to ask is what he said accurate? Now, I would never, say that we should pursue criminal charges on the Aga Khan vacation, even though I do believe, maybe he broke the criminal code on that, definitely broke the ethics code, and the ethics commissioner found that. But on SNC-Lavalin, this was a very serious case where the government of the day intervened to try and get the Attorney General to overturn a decision of the Public Prosecutor's Office of Canada to pursue criminal charges in a bribery and corruption scandal. So you've got a company charged with bribery and corruption, and what does the government do? Oh no, we shouldn't get involved in this. Tell your prosecutor to do this, because if not, you might be replaced. Now, whether it should have been Trudeau who was charged or somebody else, like, we've heard the audio of Michael Wernick, the then clerk of the Privy Council, but definitely people broke the law and went too far. And while I'm not in favor of charging and prosecuting political opposition just for the sake of it, which has become the norm in the United States, not just under Trump, but under the Democrats who sent like 4 or 5 of Trump's people to jail and are now upset that he's trying to do the same to them. We should be able to function within the rule of law. And if you're not allowed to interfere in a criminal prosecution, then you're not allowed to interfere in a criminal prosecution. And they clearly did with SNC-Lavalin. And they removed Jody Wilson-Raybould because she refused to do that, put in a new minister who would do that, and now they're all clutching at their pearls. I've been listening to Liberals say that the RCMP was in the bag for the Conservatives since Commissioner Zaccarelli in 2005, 2006, with the whole, what was that called again? Income trust.
Income trust, yeah.
Oh, income trust, yeah.
Don't spend 20 years telling me that the RCMP is in the bag for the Conservatives and then get upset when somebody says the same thing. The law was clearly broken, in my view, in SNC.
Unless you have something to add, Tasha, I'd like to move along. Unless you have something to add.
I think Brian is right about the law. It's the politics of it, though. Like you said at the beginning, that was a stupid move. So, yeah. Okay,
let's talk about some of the challenges that Mr. Carney's facing with his premiers. Doug Ford says no to lifting tariffs on Chinese EVs. Wab Kinew, Scott Moe want them lifted because they think it would help the canola sector. Danielle Smith wants a pipeline. David Eby doesn't want a pipeline. How would you describe, Tasha, the unity on Team Canada right now?
Well, it's a problem because, and it's inevitable. You've got different sectors impacted in different ways by the U.S. tariffs and the Chinese tariffs. And so the West is facing headwinds from China on soybeans and canola. Ontario is facing headwinds from the U.S. on autos. And so there's, let's give a bone here, give a bone there to try and get that lifted. The issue with the EVs isn't simply a market share issue, though. It's a security issue. And that's the card that Carney can play, and he should. That is one of the reasons the U.S. didn't want them either under Biden, never mind under Trump, but under Biden. They didn't want Chinese EVs because they're full of potential spyware. And they don't want that on their roads to collect more data than TikTok already does. So I think that is the real issue with Chinese vehicles, more so even than simply the fact that they're built cheaper or cost less or more competitive. You know what? That to me is a card to play. But the problem is, of course, you've got a federation where now you have two provinces potentially having separation referenda, right? You have issue in Alberta and you have an issue in Quebec. So Carney's in a really difficult place trying to herd all these cats and trying to keep people in agreement on Team Canada and moving in one direction. That is his biggest job right now. And, I wish I had a magic answer. I don't, but that is what he has to keep his eye on, or it's going to be a serious problem.
In a minute or less, Brian, what do you think?
Well, we went from what appeared to be real unity several months ago to complete disunity now. I'll say this as someone related to canola farmers. China is a bad partner, and they screwed with Canadian canola in 2013-14. In 2017, they banned it for 2 years. Starting in 2020, they're a bad partner. Let's build the canola industry without China as much as we can. And Carney is between a rock and a hard place.
Okay. When we come back, another legislature opens for business. Another legislature opens for business. It's Queen's Park in Ontario with Doug Ford with a brief session. We'll talk a little bit about Ontario policies when we come back on our Newsday panel. This is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
Here with Brian Lilley from the Toronto Sun, from the National Post, Tasha Kheriddin. It's our Newsday panel. Back in business today for the Ontario Legislature, Queen's Park. Well, Doug Ford still enjoys great popular support, but what issues are happening, Brian, that could be making news or causing problems in the weeks or months ahead?
Well, he's got this skills development fund, which has potential problems, not because it's a bad fund or a bad program, and not even because of how the government doled out the funds. There was an Auditor General's report that showed that, the government, they took the reports from the public sector and they approved some of the recommendations, and then there were some groups getting the funding that the public sector ranked low, and the government said, well, no, that's a priority for us, and so we're approving it. That's how government should work. Like the public sector is not all powerful, all seeing, all knowing. And so I have no problem with the elected government of the day, whoever it is, making the decision that we're going in this direction. We all get the chance every election to say yay or nay to them. But there is a problem where a bunch of the people that got the money, the organizations, had hired lobbyists close to the Ford government, including my old boss, my friend, Corey Knight, some others like Dave Rutherham, who was close to Labor Minister David Piccini. And the perception that, is there insider dealing, insider trading, that could hurt them, much the way the Greenbelt scandal hurt them. Not a bad policy, but maybe the implementation wasn't bad and perception becomes reality. That could all hurt them. That's about the only thing on the forefront right now because, Doug Ford faces some of the worst opposition I've ever seen. It's why he's won 3 majority governments because the Liberals and the NDP are
weak opposition. Yeah, weak opposition. Okay, let's hear from Tasha. What do you think, Tasha?
No, I think that the scandal, as such as it is, that Brian's alluding to, is going to be, obviously the opposition is going to be all over that, because there's not a hell of a lot else. The only other big file where the opposition, the NDP, is making a lot of noise is in education. There's been a takeover of several school boards in the province by the provincial government in the last few months. And it's for things like financial malfeasance in some cases. In others, honestly, that just the boards, the trustees and the boards were out of control in terms of not listening to parents. The province has a bill that's coming forward to give them the capacity to take over things in the public interest and not just on money, because ostensibly all this was about money. But really, it's also the sense that the schools are teaching kids stuff that is not preparing them for the workforce. There's a lot of wokeism, a lot of stuff in the education system that is just not serving the students. So the NDP is screaming about this up and down. The Liberals are nowhere on this because, well, they don't have a leader right now. And it's, the other issue was also that the NDP, this has been their file. I mean, school trustees is their farm team in terms of electing politicians. They go municipally, they go to school trustees to run them in the cities. But the Conservatives also use school trustees to run in the ex-urban regions. So both actually use them. So both care about this. Anyway, if trustees get abolished, we'll know by the end of the year if they do. I have a feeling they probably won't, but there's going to be greater clarity on their role. And in the meantime, the government is happy to spar with the NDP on this because the Liberals, like I said, just crushes them in the middle and they're leaderless and they got to figure out their own life. So that's where we are for the next 28 days. It's a really short session, by the way. Like, it's going to, blink and it's gone, right?
Yeah. Okay. Look, a lot of fun today. Great to hear from both of you. Go Jays.
Thank you.
Go Jays, yeah.
Bye-bye.
Go Jays, absolutely.
Bye, Rob.
Bye. They're both in Toronto today. Tasha Kheriddin, the National Post, Brian Lilley from the Toronto Sun. Talkback, first one in a while, is coming up right after the news at the top of the hour here on News Radio. Welcome to Talkback. It's 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. And to start the week, our topic today is federal politics and your opinions on the two main political leaders in this country. The Prime Minister of Canada and the leader of the Liberal Party, Mark Carney, and the leader of the official opposition, the leader of the Conservative Party, Pierre. What are your opinions of these people? What do you think about Mark Carney and his leadership of this country since becoming Prime Minister back in March of this year? And what do you think of Pierre Poilievre and the job he's doing as the leader of the opposition, trying to hold the government to account and trying to position the Conservative Party as a government in waiting and maybe even become Prime Minister himself someday? What do you think of these two people and their job performance? Are they doing a good job? Are they doing a so-so job? Are they doing a terrible job? Just what do you think? Just give us your honest opinion about these two people. The person who is the Prime Minister and the person who wants to be the Prime Minister. Our phone lines are open right now at 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. One of the reasons we want to focus on federal politics today is because the House of Commons is back in session. There's a lot going on. There is a lot to talk about involving both of these leaders. When it comes to Prime Minister Carney, he's been in Washington twice now. He has spoken very highly of Donald Trump, and yet there's been no breakthrough on the trade file. Just promises that there will be aid for businesses and aid for workers that are being impacted by Trump's tariffs. And the latest open wound on that is in the auto sector in Ontario, and the news that Stellantis is going to move production of the Jeep Compass out of Brampton, where they haven't assembled a vehicle since February, and move that production to the United States, to the state of Illinois. And you mark my words, the Carney Liberals are in for a real grilling on that this week. And the question is going to be asked again of the Prime Minister. Look, you promised that you would deal with Donald Trump, you would get Canada a deal, and yet still there's no deal. And it's not just the auto sector. The Canadian lumber industry is in crisis. There's a 45% tariff on lumber exports to the United States. And as Premier Ford pointed out last week, Trump has promised to double tariffs on things like kitchen cabinets and bathroom vanities, tariffs that could reach 50%. We have a 25% tariff on Canadian-made steel and aluminum, a 10% tariff on potash, a 10% tariff on Canadian oil and natural gas. And you have comments from people like Howard Lutnick, Trump's top negotiator on trade, and he's saying things like auto manufacturing is only going to be done in the United States, and there's nothing Canada can do about it. Now, in fairness, a lot of this started before Mark Carney ever became prime minister, but he's the prime minister now, and his critics would say the situation is only getting worse. And then there's this so-called Team Canada approach that seems to be fraying. Ontario Premier Doug Ford wants retaliatory tariffs. Fight back, he says, fight back. And Carney says it's not the time for that. You have a pair of Western Canadian premiers, Wab Kinew and Scott Moe, and they want the Canadian tariffs on Chinese EVs lifted, hoping they'll bring relief to tariffs from China on agriculture. Doug Ford is opposed to that. You have Premier Smith in Alberta wants a pipeline to the West Coast. David Eby, the Premier of BC, doesn't want a pipeline to the West Coast. And it's not all just about trade. The country faces many more issues outside of the trade issues. Canadians are still struggling with cost of living issues, housing affordability. They've lost faith in the immigration system, concerns about crime. And 2 weeks from tomorrow, there's going to be the federal budget, a federal budget that's going to show a huge deficit. So that's everything that Mark Carney has on his plate. So how is he doing, in your opinion, as the prime minister? Good job? So-so? Terrible? 1-833-668-2577. Then there's what's happening in Pierre Poilievre's world. A lot of the national polls suggest he has his party basically in a tie with the Liberals. A couple of polling firms even show the Conservatives are in the lead. But they're national numbers, and they really don't mean much if Conservative support is mostly concentrated in the West and in rural Canada, because, as all of you know, if the Conservatives can't win more seats in Atlantic Canada, Quebec, and Ontario, the Liberals will govern forever. As we talked about with our panelists today, one of the new developments for Poilievre is that some people in the Conservative movement just don't think he's up to the job, that he doesn't have what it takes. They don't think he's doing a very good job as a leader of the Conservative Party, and they're making it pretty clear they would rather have someone else lead the party. They don't like his style. They don't like his tone. They think he sounds too much like Trump. They say he borrows material from MAGA. And it's all stuff that just doesn't sell in Canada to Canadians. And that as long as he keeps doing that, he's never going to be prime minister, and the Conservatives will never be trusted enough to govern the country. That's what he's dealing with right now. Rumblings, rumors in the Conservative movement that maybe the Conservative Party needs a new leader, someone who can more favorably measure up to Mark Carney. That's kind of a snapshot of what's going on in Pierre Poilievre's world right now. What we want to know today is what's your opinion of these two people, Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre. Give it to me straight. What do you like about them? What don't you like about them? What kind of job do you think they're doing? 1-833-668-2577 is our call-in line. If you've never called before, just mention that. We'll make your call a priority. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Federal politics is our topic today. We want to know your opinions of the two top leaders in federal politics, leader of the Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre, and the Prime Minister, Mark Carney. What is your opinion of these two people? 1-833-668-2577. What do you think of the jobs that they're doing? It's interesting with Pierre Poilievre and all the speculation about his leadership because Mr. Poilievre, of course, is facing a leadership review this coming January. And even though the Conservatives didn't win the last election, the party did have its best performance since the late 80s, and the Conservative Party did make gains in Ontario. And it's still, as I said, when it comes to the national horse race, I mean, most of these polls show it was a pretty close race with the Liberals. It's not like the Conservatives are out of it with Poilievre at the helm. I guess some people are wondering, would the Conservative Party be in a better position if someone else was leading the party, or would it be even in as strong a position as it's in right now if Pierre Poilievre wasn't the leader of the party? His supporters are saying, listen to what the man is saying and what he's been doing over the last few years. What he's been doing is building a new conservative coalition. Who is part of this coalition? Well, it's young people who have never voted conservative before. It's new Canadians who have never voted conservative before. It's working class union members in the private sector unions, in the trades, who have never voted conservative before. And those same supporters would say the last election was a fluke. It was a one-off because of one man, Donald Trump, and tariffs, and all his talk about the 51st state. And if that had never happened, it would be a conservative government right now. It would be Prime Minister Poilievre. And now that's receding into the background. And that makes the Conservatives even better positioned when the next election rolls around. And I think what they would say is it would be a huge mistake to change leaders right now for the Conservative Party. But again, that's what's happening on that side of the bench of the House of Commons. Now, on the governing side, we're also asking, what do you think about Mark Carney, your impressions of the man, the job he is doing as Prime Minister of Canada? It's a job he has had since March. And then he won the election in late April, and he got to keep the job. And I mean, that was a feat in and of itself. He really accomplished what darn near looked impossible just a few months earlier. You think about the 6 months earlier. Not too many people would have picked that the Liberals would win yet another election, that the Liberals would win a fourth election in a row. But again, his critics would say he had lots of help. Circumstances, events, my dear friend, events. And the big help was Donald Trump. It never would have happened without Donald Trump. It never would have happened without Donald Trump imposing tariffs on Canada. Never would have happened without Donald Trump calling, Justin Trudeau the governor. Never would have happened without Donald Trump talking about wanting to make Canada the 51st state. Carney's critics would say, if none of that happens, the Liberals would have been crushed in the last election, and it would have been a massive majority win for the Conservative Party, and it would be Prime Minister Poilievre right now. But woulda, coulda, shoulda. The fact is, all of that did happen, and a very convincing case could be made, I think, that the Conservatives should have had a better plan to deal with all of that happening. And they didn't. And they lost. So here we are, all of these months later. It's almost 6 months later. It'll be 6 months really next week since the election. What do you think about the job Prime Minister Carney is doing? What do you think about the job Pierre Poilievre is doing, trying to hold the prime minister to account and maybe one day become prime minister himself? It's Talkback. Phone lines are open, folks. 1-833-668-2577. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Federal politics. We're talking about federal politics today. Gathering your opinions on the two top people in federal politics. On the Liberal side, it's Prime Minister Mark Carney. On the Conservative side, Pierre Poilievre, both of them in the news as Parliament resumes after an extended Thanksgiving holiday from MPs. 1-833-668-2577. John is up first today in Halifax. Hi, John. Very good, John. Oh, okay.
First of all, Poilievre, right?
Yeah.
Bad mistake. Chasing after the past, it's over with. It's a done deal, right? They want to go after Trudeau. Let the RCMP take care of it. Go after Trudeau. It's not Carney's not Trudeau. And this is one thing I don't like when I see it on Facebook. People compare Carney to Trudeau because he was an advisor. Yeah, but you don't know if he listened to him. You don't know if Trudeau listened to him, right? So I think Carney's doing a great job, right?
You do, okay.
And when it comes to like the pipeline going to BC, guess what? That's for federal interests, for the whole country. Moving along. Churchill, great idea. Now we've got to start looking east. Start putting the pipeline east. But we have to become dependent. We have to become independent and not have to get oil from the United States or anywhere else. We have enough oil to take care of ourselves and sell all kinds. So as long as he doesn't start putting all these environmental environmental
reviews, assessments, those sorts of things.
Yeah, right. Because then next thing you know, it's going to get bogged down. 6-7 years later, nothing's done. But I think he's doing a great job. And plus, with Trump, he's doing a fantastic job. By putting more tariffs on, it's only for Canadians. I know we're suffering. I know certain divisions, but he has to. In that case, he has to get rid of the tariffs on the Chinese EVs. He has to get rid of it or lower it down big time. Because two biggest countries in the world, the United States and China, right?
Okay.
So you have to be able to deal with one or the other.
Okay. But you think it's a big mistake for Poilievre to say go back and try and fight the battles over the Trudeau Liberals again?
Right.
He should move on from that.
Is Carney Trudeau? No, right? That was Trudeau that made those decisions. Hey, Carney might have led him down the wrong path. You never know. Just so he would falter and Carney could take over. You don't know, right? You don't know what people's thoughts are. But I'm saying Carney's a businessman. He knows what needs to be done. I know with this Brookfield thing, right? But listen, look what's happening down the States. Oh my God! I mean, 40 billion to the Argentines. You don't think that money's going to Trump sooner or later? Some of it, absolutely. Right? So what I'm saying is we got to take the best leader. And the best leader is a businessman. That's Mark Carney. Poilievre is just, if he wasn't working here, he'd be out on point. Right?
Okay. I don't know about that. He'd probably have a very lucrative lobbying career, I suspect. I don't think he'd be on bogey very long.
Maybe he did, but he's too much like Trump. He's trying to be a Trump person.
Too much like Trump. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a bad choice to go follow Trump.
Okay.
So anyway, Poilievre, 0. Carney's doing about a 7 right now. 10.
Doing about a 7. Okay. All right. You've had your say, and I'm glad you're first up today. Good to hear from you in Halifax today. We will stop here, Keith. You just hang on the line. We'll get to you right after we bring you right up to date on the latest breaking news. Very busy news day today. Jays game 7 tonight, of course. Maybe that's on everybody's mind. And for our friends in Alberta, they're having municipal elections today all across the province of Alberta. So a big day out there, too. I'm Rob Snow. 1-833-668-2577. Kicking around the federal political landscape today on our first Talkback. Back with you after a few days away, and I'd love to hear from you right after the news on News Radio. Four lines available. We'd love to hear from you today. First Talkback for us in a while. Would love to just talk about federal politics today and your opinions on the two people at the top of the political food chain in this country. I mean, we're talking about Prime Minister Mark Carney, and then on the other side, the Conservative Party leader, Pierre Poilievre. How are they doing at their respective jobs, in your opinion? 1-833-668-2577. Let's go to Keith. Is up next in Nova Scotia. Hi, Keith.
Hi, Rob. How are you today?
Very good, Keith. Good to hear from you.
I'm just going to say that people, whoever's in power right now in Canada, either Carney or if somebody else was in, maybe Poilievre got in, I'm just going to say that this is a very extremely difficult task that they have to deal with when they have a person like Donald Trump lurking in the background. I think Carney went down to visit. He went down to see Trump a couple of times.
Yes.
And he walked away with, basically not too much of anything. And I think he said some things to Trump that Trump likes to hear. He gives him strokes his ego, how smart he is, and this and that. That's what he likes. And Poilievre, I don't think Trump really likes Poilievre for whatever reasons. Am I correct there? I mean, he seemed to take more of a liking to Mark Carney. And Carney's a businessman, Trump calls himself a businessman, deal maker. And Carney may be a businessman, and that's one aspect of a country, running a country, but we really need somebody that's going to look after our people in this country. Clearly
that's job number one. If that, if I could just interrupt there, Keith, just let me interrupt you there. When you hear Donald Trump say nice things about Mark Carney, or when Mark Carney praises Donald Trump, what do you think about that?
In my humble opinion, I think that's probably just a waste of time for Mark Carney.
Okay. Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Judging from Donald Trump the way he is, and I hate to make this conversation about Donald Trump, but it is a fact that he is, just an unstable person that's going to do what he wants to do. And Carney may have gave him praise, but Donald Trump is just going to forget about that because that is just something that he expects everybody to give him all the time. And Carney is not special. I don't think anybody's special to Donald Trump. I think, like one of the callers said about making this country more independent as far as our energy, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
But I think, Rob, can I just make one short comment about what Rob Ford wants?
Doug Ford. Yeah, Doug Ford.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doug Ford. About wanting to fight back or, do things to try to fight back for Canada. I think that's just a mistake because that'll just ratchet Donald Trump up more, and he'll do more because he is like that, and he's got a bunch of people working for him that will do and say anything he wants.
All right, Keith. Good to hear from you today and get your opinion. Let's go to Cambridge, Ontario. Esther is in Cambridge today. Hi, Esther.
Yes. Hi, Rob.
Hi.
Just regarding the tariffs that President Trump has put on Canada. My understanding is that the states would remove those tariffs if Canada would stop the flow of drugs getting into the states through Canada. I mean, the President Trump and the U.S. government, they have made efforts to stop the flow of drugs into their country through Mexico, and the other way that drugs get into their country is through Canada. And from what I have heard, and I have listened to, I don't know whether you've ever listened to investigative reporter Sam Cooper. I would really love if you would have him as a guest on your program.
Okay.
But it seems to me that Canada, sadly, the governments of Canada are not interested in stopping the flow of drugs into Canada because there is big money for them, for Canada, and I find that very, very disturbing, and but it reminds me of the saying that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, well, the government has said, and I'm not here to defend the government or the Conservatives, but the government has said, in response to Trump's demands about securing the border, they're hiring 1,000 extra Border Patrol officers, CBSA officers, and they've appointed this person as the fentanyl czar. And yet the tariffs are still there, and some of the tariffs have gone even higher since they made that announcement. What do you think about that?
Well, I may be wrong. I mean, obviously, I haven't investigated it personally, but it seems to me that what I understand that is really just a bluff. But anyway, that's
okay.
I really I don't know whether you could ever get on your show Sam Cooper, but he has been an investigative reporter on a lot of these issues.
I'm quite familiar with Sam Cooper, from the Bureau. Yeah, he does great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah, he does. And I know he was interviewed by the McDonald Laurier
Institute.
McDonald,
okay.
And they were very open to what, I mean, he has been doing this for years, but you know, money talks. It does, doesn't it?
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Sam Cooper really made a name for himself, especially investigating money laundering that was happening in the British Columbia casinos by Asian organized crime. That's really what really got his career rolling, and he hasn't looked back. Interesting point, though. Okay. You think the problems that we're having with Trump is because we're not taking the border seriously, and that's a failing of the Carney government. Fair enough. Be right back with more of your calls on federal politics, our topic of the day, your opinion of the job that Mark Carney is doing as Prime Minister and that Pierre Poilievre is doing as the Conservative Party leader, the leader of the official opposition. More of your calls next. Lots of lines available there. This is Talkback News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
With MPs getting back to work in Ottawa today and the federal budget just about 2 weeks from today, I believe it's 2 weeks from tomorrow, November 4th. Gosh, it'll be November already. Federal politics is our topic of the day, and we're gathering your opinions on the two top party leaders in federal politics. Of course, the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, the leader of the Liberal Party, but also because there are all kinds of rumors and speculation about the future of the leadership of the leader of the Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre. Want to know your opinion on the job that he's doing, what you're hearing from him after his party went down to defeat in the last election. 1-833-668-2577 to Billy, who's in Kitchener today. Hi, Billy.
Hey, how you doing?
Very good, Billy. Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just I'm not here to criticize either party. I just think that Canada and a lot of countries are in a difficult spot now because The U.S. is flexing their muscles, and they want to put some tariffs on everybody. Ultimately, we're going to sign a deal with these guys, and there's going to be some tariffs in place. We can't do nothing about it. The best thing we can do is try to keep it as low as we can. This is where the government has to be smart and negotiate. But the tariffs are here. They're going to stay. We have to live with it, I think.
Okay, so we just have to face reality that the era of, say, free trade, free access to the American market, those days are over?
Unfortunately, I think they are. And even if Trump loses a few years from now, and I think these tariffs are here to stay.
Okay. What do you think? What do you think about, though? I know you said you didn't want to criticize or whatever, either party, but what Mark Carney was all, elbows up and I'll deal with Trump and all of this stuff during the election campaign. And some of the tariffs that were in place then have only gone higher since he became prime minister. So what kind of job is he doing as prime minister?
Well, I think Carney is probably the smarter of the two guys. I like him representing, even though I am a conservative. I like Carney, but I think his hands are tied. He can't do much. He'll say whatever he wants to say to get elected, but ultimately, when these two guys face off and their teams face off to talk business, these guys, the United States is holding all the cards. It's very hard for us to negotiate a deal. I think we have to play nice with these guys. We can't because we can't muscle these guys. Let's not forget these guys are the superpower. They muscle the whole world.
Of course.
Why
of course.
Should we be left out,
Yeah. Sometimes you're the bug, and sometimes you're the windshield, and they're the windshield, I guess, and we're the bug, right? But let me ask you: you say you're a conservative, but you prefer Carney over Poilievre. Why is that?
I like Carney. I didn't care for Poilievre's personality.
Okay.
His track record. He doesn't have much experience. I think Carney is better person to make a deal with Trump. I think they talk numbers. I think they're more like business guys. Let's just put it that way. I think Carney was a good fit for the Liberals this time, and that's what got him elected. If it wasn't for Carney, Poilievre would be crying the blues now with Trump. I don't think you know what I mean. It's just we're fighting a battle that the tariffs are gonna happen. We're gonna sign some deal ultimately with the United States, and there's going to be some tariffs there. So we just have to deal with it.
Okay. And you think Mark Carney is the best positioned person to deal with it right now? Okay.
I think so.
Very interesting, Billy. Yeah, no, I love your analysis. Yeah, I won't say I agree with everything you say, but thank you for offering your opinion today. And there's no doubt. I mean, it's kind of the Carney party now. People like Mark Carney as prime minister say a lot more than they like the Liberals or the Liberal government or the Liberal Party. They like the prime minister. They like they are willing to give the prime minister some time and be patient with the prime minister. The Liberals, maybe not so much. Be right back with more of your calls on Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. We're talking federal politics today to start the week. 1-833-668-2577. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Federal politics. What are your opinions of the two top leaders in federal politics, Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre? To Craig in Calgary. Thanks for calling, Craig. You're up next.
Hi, how are you doing?
Very good, Craig. Good to hear from you. What's your opinion?
Well, Carney has gone down a number of times, and so has his cabinet gone down a number of times, and he's come back with nothing. In fact, we keep giving stuff away all the time. And unless it lines up, if you don't know Carney's background on his Brookfield and his Stripe shares and how much he's invested in down in the States, he's not doing anything until he can enrich himself. Now, that's not for Canada. I don't like Carney because he's not for Canada. The green grifter, this eco stuff, it's all pie in the sky. And so I believe Poilievre was who I would go with. He'd be better for this country. And then we talk about Trump. Yeah, everybody's afraid. He's keeping him in his corner, Carney is, just to make everybody scared of Trump, and they're going to save him from Trump. Trump's doing the right thing. Wish we had a Trump in Canada that was standing up for Canada. We haven't got a Trump. We got a Carney who keeps laying down. Poilievre could do that. Poilievre could diverse, get all these 9 laws away from us in Alberta. Let Daniel Smith make this place prosper. No, Carney's in it for himself and for his own shares. Yeah, that's my strong opinion, and you can see it. And everybody's watching the wrong media, man. Get away from that main media, folks. Wake up.
Okay, well, I'm wide awake and well caffeinated today. But what do you say to people? I'm just throwing this out there because your opinions are so passionate, and I appreciate that. Poilievre's facing a lot of backlash over comments about Justin Trudeau and corruption and the RCMP covering up for Trudeau, all this kind of stuff. And they say it reminds them of Trump. And this keeps coming up and kind of haunting Poilievre. He's sounds too much like Trump, sounds too much like MAGA. What about that? What's your opinion on that?
Okay, well, 2 parts. It's because everybody's afraid of Trump. The main media's pumping everybody Trump bad. So always going to be looking like Trump. Okay, someone who's going to say his mind. But as far as Poilievre speaking against Trudeau and should have been charged with the SNC Lavalin case and all that, that's true. The RCMP never produced enough documents. There's nothing to see here. Trudeau buried a lot of stuff, got rid of Ray Bolt. He did a lot of bad things. We never quite got to the bottom of it. So when Poilievre every right to say that, yes, this should have been further investigated and the RCMP got weak on that, he's got every right to say that. It's free speech. It's Canada. Let's say it. It's the very truth of it. But oh boy, look at him. He's acting like Trump. Too bad. I'd rather have somebody acting like somebody and maybe pull up your shorts and get something done here. Who's he supposed to act like when you say something like that? Don't say nothing at all.
Okay. Thank you for your opinion, Craig. Yep. Welcoming your opinion. Linda up next on line 2. Hi, Linda.
Hi. Thanks for taking my
Linda.
call.
You're welcome.
I find it really interesting how seeming like all Canadians want to blame Trump for really bad policies that have been in effect for over a decade. And I think that our own leadership and other associations like your grain association, for instance, the canola with China, they haven't done a good job for Canadians. None of them, industry leaders or for politics. And with regard to Carney, I think that if anybody really looks into his background and his involvement with the WEF and on a global scale, he's not for Canada. He's for a global elitist agenda. So and that's not conspiracy. That's a fact.
Okay. What about the job Pierre Poilievre is doing? It's kind of a 2-parter.
You know what?
What do you?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that he's good. Unfortunately, and what happened in his riding with regard to the election, I mean, and that was almost criminal what happened there. But
Why?
Carney took some of Poilievre's policies and is implementing them, and his stake on the oil and gas and opening that up. He's taking some conservative policies and he's playing with them.
Okay. Thank you for your opinion there. Just on the riding of Carleton. I mean, that was a there was a big riding that was split into 2. Poilievre had a choice. He could have run in the suburban part of the riding. He chose not to. He ran in the area that was largely rural, but over time became suburban. That's what happened. Welcome to hour number 2 of Talkback. Great to be back with you today. We're talking about federal politics, and we want to know your opinions on the top 2 party leaders in federal politics. The leader of the Liberal Party, the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney. What do you think of the job he's doing? He's been Prime Minister since March, under a lot of pressure because of the lack of a deal with Donald Trump, and under increasing pressure now because of the Stellantis news in Southern Ontario, in Brampton, and the news that production of the Jeep Compass will be moved from Brampton to Illinois. So soon to be 3,000 unemployed auto workers in that province, although there is the chance some of them could get work at another plant on a third shift in Windsor. So that's what's happening kind of this week in politics for Mark Carney, and he's going to be grilled about that this week. And then there's what's going on with the Conservative Party leader, Pierre Poilievre, with some very well-known personalities in what I would call the conservative movement saying they don't like what he's saying about Justin Trudeau. They don't like what he's saying about the RCMP. They don't like his tone. He sounds too much like Trump. He sounds too MAGA. And maybe the Conservative Party would be better off if it found a new leader other than Pierre Poilievre. So that's why we're asking these questions today. And we welcome your feedback and your opinion on Talkback at 1-833-668-2577. Ahmed in Calgary. Hello, Ahmed.
Hello. Thanks for taking my call. How are you?
You're welcome. Very good. Very good. Thank you for calling.
So
what's your opinion?
Previous caller, the conservative that likes Carney, he prompted me to call in, and the caller just before me pretty much made my point, in which Carney pretty much took everything that Poilievre was running for and used it. So basically, he turned into Poilievre in a way. And I don't really like that. I think that's kind of sneaky and, underhanded.
Okay. But if he's adopting policies that you agree with, though, shouldn't you be in favor of that?
Sure, but if he could change his face that quickly, that means he can change back just as fast.
Right. So it's what about the character of the person you're saying, right? The character of the person and the conviction of their beliefs. Okay.
That is exactly what I'm leaning towards. So how can you trust someone that switches just that quickly? And against Trump, he's going to be a pushover. He might look like he's going to try to stand up, but has he stood up? Not really. He's pretty much let Trump walk all over him.
Okay. So sneaky, underhanded, kind of been a pushover when it comes to Trump. So not a big fan of the prime minister. Now, to our second part of the question, what about Pierre Poilievre? What do you think about the job that he's doing as the leader of the Conservatives?
Well, I mean, again, so I like the direction he's going. How he's going about it may not be the right way. So,
how so?
Again, well, like some of the how do I say this? I mean, Poilievre, yeah, he's how do I put this in words? Let's just say that, again, Poilievre, his character, okay, yeah, he may seem a MAGA-er. I'll call him a Cam MAGA-er, like a Canadian MAGA-er. But, he's looking out for Canada. And we need someone to do that.
Okay.
I don't think Carney is looking out for Canada. He's looking out for himself.
Okay. I believe the term that they use to describe people who are kind of in the MAGA frame of mind, maple MAGA, isn't that what they say? Maple MAGA.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard that one. That's perfect. Maple MAGA.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I'm not all for the MAGA-ers, but some of the things that they stand up for, yeah, for sure.
But you think when it
MAGA-ers,
comes to,
the
say,
maple MAGA-ers
defending Canada, standing up for Canada, having the conviction of their own beliefs, you think Pierre Poilievre has the edge there over Mark Carney. Would that be fair?
Absolutely. That's a perfect statement.
All right. Well, we'll end it there then. Let's just rest on perfection. Ahmed, I thank you for your call in Calgary today. To Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, Ken is up next. Hi, Ken.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Very good, Ken. Thank you. What's your opinion on Mark Carney? Why don't we start there?
Okay. I am very, very worried. Mark Carney is a multimillionaire. His company, or his former company, Brookfield, owns mostly U.S. products. I mean, how can you defend Canada when you when you're interested only in making money in the United States. I mean, he's been in power for months now. He's done absolutely nothing.
Okay.
The only thing he seems to want to take credit for is the USMC, which was in there anyway. And I'll guarantee you that Trump is going to play hardball, and we're probably going to get the dirty end of the stick by the time he's done. He has over 100 and some conflicts of interest. I mean, most of the things he's talking about and his agenda is no carbon. Canada should not be producing any carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is absolute nonsense. If suddenly tomorrow he waved his wand and we never put another ounce of CO2 into the atmosphere, absolutely nothing would change.
Okay. Well, he did drop the
US,
consumer carbon
China,
tax. He did drop the
Indy,
consumer carbon tax, right?
Only
Drop the
because
consumer carbon tax.
because it was unpopular, and it was one of the
Okay.
things that Pierre has been advocating for quite some time, and he didn't really remove it.
Okay.
He just
So
put it
let's
in pause.
just because we're tight on time, Ken. Just because we're tight on time, give me a quick comment on what you think of Pierre Poilievre and the job he's doing.
I think he's the man for Canada. He wants to be the prime minister. He's interested in Canada, and if we don't get Pierre at the helm, I think we're done. Alberta will leave, Saskatchewan will leave, BC will leave, and Quebec will leave. But what do we got left?
Wow.
Nothing.
Okay, that's a pretty
I am
doomy,
really
gloomy
concerned.
outlook there, Ken. Okay, very concerned. Appreciate the concern and appreciate the call even more. And I hope to hear from you today on Talkback. It's hour number 2 talking federal politics today. I'm Rob Snow, 1-833-668-2577 to have your say on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
We're talking about federal politics today and gathering your opinions on the bigwigs, the top leaders, the top of the food chain in Ottawa. Your opinion of Prime Minister Carney. He's been the Prime Minister almost 6 months now since the election. What is your opinion of the Conservative Party leader? There are all kinds of rumors swirling around Ottawa. The knives are out. The knives are out. There could be a coup against Pierre Poilievre. So give me your honest opinion of what you think of the job that he's doing as the leader of the official opposition at 1-833-668-2577. Ranny, up next. Hi, Ranny.
Hi, Rob. How are you doing today?
Very good. Very good. Thank you. What's your opinion?
I think Mark Carney should. I mean, he should know that nothing's going to happen with the U.S. So he should be being more proactive and doing more development in Canada, promoting development in Canada using the energy resources. I mean, we keep saying this time and time again, but it's silly that he's not doing that. I just don't understand it. What's preventing him for promoting the resources we have and trying to make our economy better using them.
Well, I think he would say, again, I'm not here to defend one or the other, okay? I think what he would say is, well, we have a national projects list. We announced 5 projects. We'll announce more at the Grey Cup in Winnipeg. And we have a national projects office. And we actually even opened it up in your city in Calgary, right? Sorry?
This action needs to be taken. We are in a dire strait in this country right now. It's do or die. Like they got to take action. They can't just keep talking. By the time they keep talking, next election's going to come up, right? In order to keep his integrity, he has to do something. Take action now, so people can see. Yeah, he's doing something, but he hasn't done. It's all been talk, right? Am I not right? Has anything been done?
Well, it's your opinion. You think there's too much talk, not enough action. Too much talk, not enough action.
Yeah.
You want more action. Okay,
Well,
fair enough. What do you think about Pierre Poilievre?
I think he's doing the best job he can as being in the opposition. I mean, what more can he do? What power does he actually have? You know, he can only be there to criticize what Prime Minister Carney is doing. You know, but I just wanted to ask you, Rob, is there a possibility? You know, as you mentioned, Calgary is in a municipal election right now. I just wanted to just briefly talk about that, if I may.
Very quickly, yeah. Very quickly,
okay,
yeah.
I'm in Rocky County, Ward 6, District 6, and I just want to make aware, we have 3 candidates running in our district in Rocky County. We have proof that one of them is doing voter fraud. We have made Elections Canada aware of this, and nothing's being done.
I don't know anything about that. I don't know. That's more a job for our newsroom. You can contact our newsroom and they'll get somebody on that, Randy. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we're just going to stick with our topic here today. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds in one council race in, one municipal election in one city. Let's go to Sammy up next. Hi, Sammy.
Good afternoon. How are you tonight?
Yeah,
today?
Very good, Sammy. Thank you. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Yes. As far as go ahead.
Just want to ask you, what's your opinion? Let's start with the Prime Minister. What do you think he's doing? How is he doing, in your opinion?
Well, as far as our Prime Minister, I am disappointed. The first thing he did on the first day to get rid of the carbon tax, because the polluter has to pay for what is coming. I am in my early 30s. I believe we are in huge danger with regard to what is going on with, with pollution, with air pollution. My problem is with a lot of exhaust pipe emitting a lot of dangerous, deadly gas like carbon monoxide, cyanide monoxide, sulfur, and many others that comes out of the exhaust pipe. We need to go electric 100%. Putting a tax 100% on Chinese EV is a huge mistake. We should not be worried about the car industry in Canada. We should let them market. After all, this is a capitalist system, and they should not be babysitting the car industry, the federal government. This has been going on since Harper regime. It's been too long, and the EV should be the primary attention of our federal government. The rest of the world are going, Europe, China, Japan, I mean, for heaven's sake, even India. And Canada is far behind only because the fossil fuel industry, they have a huge grip on our politicians, both federal and provincial, especially here in Alberta. And as far as getting rid
so you
of
don't think Prime
tax,
Minister Carney is doing enough on the environment? Okay, that's it. That's an interesting
he's not
one.
doing
What
enough.
about
However, as far as dealing with American, I mean, for heaven's sake, give the guy a break. No other leader is doing well with the guy sitting in the White House right now. Give me one leader of any given country in the world that has been successful to deal with a guy who is totally, I don't know, I can use all kind of words, but maybe I shouldn't use in the radio. But the man is corrupt. Maybe the best word I can describe the guy in the White House is corruption to the max.
Okay, so on his dealings with Trump, you give him a break. Fair enough. It's a very popular opinion. We'll be right back. Thank you, Sammy. Talkback. Your calls, 1-833-668-2577, and your opinions here on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
To Curtis on the line from Kitchener today on Talkback, and let's get his opinion on Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre today. Hello, Curtis.
Hello, how are you doing, Rob?
Very good, Curtis. Thank you. What's your opinion, please?
Well, I feel it's pretty obvious and right in front of us is that Carney's done nothing. He stole everything Poilievre, what he is trying to do. If we want to be enriched, then why is he not opening up Alberta so we can be one of the richest countries in the world? And Poilievre is fighting for the country like Trump. It's unfortunate that we're affected by Trump. But you know what? I wish we had a government like that. I wish our government had been fighting for us all these years, and we wouldn't be in this position today. One thing no one's talking about is Bill C8 and Bill C9. How are those any good for our country? When you sit on the board or you sit with the World Economic Forum, that's what those bills are good for. They're trying to silence us, censor everything, to where they determine what is good that you can say and what's not. You can literally do time in jail for it. But yet they're letting murderers out on bail over and over and over again. So you tell me who's doing good. It ain't Carney.
Okay. So C9, forgive me, I'm not, I don't have that off the top of my brain. What is that about, C9?
Well, there's basically censorship. Like C8, it will give any minister the right to take you right off the internet, and you cannot say nothing or you will go to jail. So if I'm kicked off, I can't tell you, Rob, as a friend, hey, guess what? I got the boot from the internet. I'll go to jail for that. Now, why would that be the case?
Okay, I'd have to do some I'll have to do some digging on that one. I'm not really familiar with that and whether
right now. They just introduced them.
Okay.
They just introduced them.
C9. Okay, I'm going to write that down. C9. Must look at C9. Can I go to jail for posting stuff on the internet? Okay. Thank you. What do you think about Pierre Poilievre and the job he's doing?
I feel like, he would do very well for Canada. He is for Canada. You've seen it since his campaign, which is now basically Carney's campaign. Carney's doing an about-face with opening up Alberta all of a sudden because he's not winning. See, he's all about the Greens, which in my opinion is fake to begin with. And we are not. If you want to worry about who's, destroying the earth, look at China. All right? Like, they have the hugest amount of carbon going in. We're carbon neutral. We have billions and billions of trees that it doesn't even take that much to make us carbon neutral without even doing anything.
Okay. Yeah, the government's official position on whether Canada is carbon neutral because of its trees and the millions, if not billions of trees, and whether that makes us a carbon sink. Again, I will repeat this. The government says that's not true, and it hasn't been true for many, many years. That's what the government says, but you have to believe the government, I guess. Be right back, though, on News Radio. The political season is getting back into the swing of things in Ottawa. There was no House of Commons business last week. MPs were away in their ridings. They do that after Thanksgiving. But they're back now. There are questions about auto sector layoffs in Stellantis. The budget is 2 weeks from now. And as well, Pierre Poilievre, he's facing questions about his tone, his leadership style, and whether he should even be the leader of the Conservative Party. With all of this going on, we're asking for your opinions on the job that the Prime Minister is doing. Mark Carney, the big job being dealing with Donald Trump, still no deal there. And your opinion of the Conservative Party leader and how you think he's doing, Pierre Poilievre. Let's go to Rob, is up next. Rob's in Calgary. Hi, Rob.
Hi, how are you today?
Very good, Rob. Happy election day to you there in Calgary.
Yeah, I've already voted.
Okay.
If it wasn't so dramatic, it would be funny that Canada's lost 10 years under Liberals, and everything that was going to happen before. If you take a look, Carney with the posties, he says, well, we've got to hand out home delivery. Well, Harper wanted to do that 10 years ago. Trudeau stopped that. Trudeau increased the civil service. Carney turns around and says, we got to make it smaller. Everything that he is doing is trying to backtrack on what Trudeau did to us over the last 10 years. And I just feel that we're going to lose another 4 years. Hopefully he doesn't in office that long going forward, because he's just reversing what the Liberals did for the last 10 years. And how much?
Okay, but isn't that a good thing? If you think the previous 10 years were a total failure, isn't it good that he's doing that?
Well, no. The thing is
no.
have we lost with these Liberal governments?
Okay.
10 years. Okay. Like, how many billions of dollars, if they'd have fallen through with what Harper was going to do with the posties, cut out home delivery, make it more streamlined, he cut it out. So we've been paying, we're losing $40 million a day, a week. You figure for the last 10 years how much it costs the country and where we'd be with that today if they had followed through. And the same with Alberta with our oil and gas. Trudeau stopped it. He says he wants to open it up, but will he really open it up? He's fairly green himself. He looks like, Shrek. And would he really do it? So this is my worry, is that we've got a person that's trying to say, what Poilievre was saying, I'm doing, because I know that we made mistakes, big mistakes. So
let me ask you this. The buzz in Ottawa these days is that the knives are out for Poilievre. What do you think of that and the job he's doing?
Well, I think there's always, it could be a rumor started by the Liberals or somebody like this. Who in the heck knows? But I mean, the fellow had the right ideas. Carney is following them, and I don't know that the rest of the Conservatives have to realize that that we had the right ideas. We just couldn't quite get over the hump to get elected, and I don't know what happened there. But really, the vote is by the time you leave Ontario, the tone is set, and if they play up to Ontario and Quebec, they can stay elected, and that's what they do.
All right.
Thank you. See, in the Maritimes, they're getting booted out in every province there.
Yeah, provincially. Yeah, provincially.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Very interesting, Rob. Yeah, as far as, are the knives out for Pierre Poilievre? I mean, what got all of this going were some remarks that Poilievre made on an increasingly successful webcast, I will say. Kudos to them at Northern Perspective. Managed to score, one of those longer style podcast, webcast type interviews with Poilievre. And Poilievre was asked, how would you handle political scandals if you were the prime minister, as opposed to the way they've been handled in the past under the Liberals? And Poilievre's basic response is people would be held accountable. And he accused Justin Trudeau of engaging in criminal behavior. And some people say that's over the top. Okay. Some of Mr. Trudeau's behavior was certainly unethical. I mean, what was going on with the SNC-Lavalin was unethical. It was clearly unethical. And the facts are the facts. Mr. Trudeau doesn't have a great track record when it comes to following ethics rules in Ottawa. He was a serial offender. He violated the ethics law when he took that vacation, the Christmas vacation to the Aga Khan's private island. He actually violated 4 sections of the Conflict of Interest Act. And the ethics commissioner at the time violated the ethics rules when he tried to influence the then Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould to intervene in the criminal prosecution of SNC-Lavalin. And of course, later on, he dumped Jody Wilson-Raybould from cabinet and kicked her out of the party. His critics say, though, he's going too far when he suggests something criminal happened and when he suggested that the RCMP covered things up for Trudeau. Now, the RCMP commissioner said last week, well, we looked into SNC-Lavalin, we didn't find anything, but what Commissioner Deham didn't mention was that they couldn't look into everything because Prime Minister Trudeau refused to release all the cabinet documents related to that decision around SNC-Lavalin and the pressure campaign on Wilson-Raybould. The Prime Minister cited cabinet confidentiality. Wouldn't you love to know what was in some of those documents? But, I mean, when it comes to the RCMP, just read a Paul Poilievre book, for crying out loud. I think he's written 5 of them now about what a dysfunctional mess the RCMP actually is from top to bottom. Poilievre has this old line, RCMP commissioners serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister, like in some of the better banana republics. But for Poilievre, his critics are saying, well, there he goes again. There goes Poilievre, sounding like Donald Trump again. Poilievre sounds like Trump, someone who wants to put his political opponents in jail, someone who wants to erode the trust in another one of our national institutions, in this case, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. That all got going, by the way, with an op-ed in the Toronto Star, which is the most liberal-friendly newspaper in Canada, of course. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
What do you think of the job Mark Carney's doing as Prime Minister? Next week, it will be 6 months since the election. He took the job in March, of course, when he won the leadership of the Liberal Party. What's your opinion of the Conservative Party leader, Pierre Poilievre? With all these reports, the knives are out for that guy. 1-833-668-2577. Lots of time to fit you in here. Ian in Kitchener today. Hi, Ian.
Hey, Rob. How you doing, bud?
Very good. Ian, thank you for calling.
Yeah. So I've always felt that Poilievre is just nothing but a hot air chest pounder. It really drives me crazy that, I never feel like I ever get any substance from him. And that being said, Trudeau to a certain point was a lot of I'm not saying that I liked him necessarily as much either. But I do have to say with Carney, I feel like he's a little more focused and he doesn't really show his cards right away, which I'm sure drives a few people crazy. But, a really good point was made about the fact that, before social media, politics was ultra boring. You'd only find it really on television if you wanted to watch during the day what was really going on and a bit of the news. And now the politics are so amplified with social media. But, the Poilievre's point and the guys who support him, when it comes to the money aspect, when they're talking about with Carney, is like, keep in mind how much has Poilievre cost Canada with, losing his own riding of, how many years to go out west. And then he's got quite the pension and everything else. And again, it's I don't see the substance, right? But Arlene Dickinson, she's voted conservative, right, for a lot of years. And she's even said that she came out and just said that this weekend. And she just said, I'm tired of the no substance. One quick thing, though, too, with a lot of your callers, I don't know what bubble they live in, but the gas guy going on about China, you know what? You need to actually read the news and actually dig in deeper. China last year did over 200 gigawatts of solar. They've done almost 100 gigawatts this year. The next closest amount of solar in terms of green and renewable energy was 20 gigawatts, which is pretty lacking. China is so far ahead of us in electric vehicle technology and renewable technology. And, somebody made a good point about even the speed train technology, which they had taken, years before.
Yeah, but it doesn't erase the fact that they're still next to the United States, the world's largest emitter of carbon.
But they're doing something about it. And when I hear guys go on about all the trees in Canada, give me a break. You know what? Canada has such a huge opportunity because I'm involved with renewable energies. I've been driving electric cars for 10 years and doing solar for over 20. I have a cabin that runs on solar and microhydro. I look everywhere. The people belly aching about gas and price of this, price of that, but they don't look at the cost of solar is so cheap now. So cheap. Even batteries, so cheap now. Do something about it and stop the belly aching. Because you sound like Poilievre.
You're making it sound like it's super cheap to install like a full array of solar panels on your roof or go totally off grid. I don't know. There's still a major outlay for a lot of people.
Well, you know what? It is.
But anyway, we're getting a little bit off the topic here.
I just want reality.
Okay,
let's get some reality. That's all I'm saying.
Let's get some reality. Okay, we're always in search of reality around here. Thank you, though, Ian. Not a fan of Poilievre. Didn't really nail him down on where Carney is, though. To Lethbridge. How about Ron in Lethbridge? Hi, Ron.
Hi, Rob. How are you doing?
Very good, Ron. Yeah, thank you.
Great show.
Thank you for calling it. Appreciate it. What's your opinion
on Carney? When he first started, he said a lot of things that he was, remember the quote that he had about doing things previously thought impossible at speeds we haven't seen in generations. Well, that's come and gone.
Okay.
I like to call Carney and his group of liberals the going-to party. They're going to do this, and they're going to do that, and they're going to do this, and nothing's happening. And I think Canadians are starting to catch on to that.
Okay. All hat, no cattle? Is that what they say in your part of the country? Something like that?
That's exactly that. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned to other people, I mean, all kinds of rumors around Ottawa. The knives are out for Poilievre. What do you think of the job he's doing?
And who? I guess we have to look back and say who is saying this. It appears that every time Poilievre brings the truth to light in regards to the recent story about the RCMP, it kind of hits a nerve. And what he said about Justin Trudeau, if it wasn't true, there'd be lawsuits. So he's obviously telling the truth. And what's the typical response is the media, especially mainstream media. I'm not blaming you. I'm the big guys. They come out and say, well, he's Trump. He's a Trump. He's a MAGA guy. He's Trump-like. And they just hurl insults. And that's their only response because, the conservative leadership is slipping. Well, I don't believe that at all. Not for a minute.
Not for a minute, okay.
We know that CBC...
You still think he's in a good place and doing a good job?
I think he's in a great place, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, the source of all of this was, as I say in the Toronto Star, this fellow Dimitri Soudis ran an op-ed in the Toronto Star. Notable because Dimitri Soudis may be a familiar name for some. He worked for Prime Minister Harper. He was one of Prime Minister Harper's top aides. He was also part of an Ottawa power couple way back when, along with Eve Adams. Some of you may remember that name. She was a Conservative MP, crossed the floor, became a Liberal. And for Soudis, if memory serves, he ran afoul of Harper. He was meddling in a nomination race for Eve Adams. He was forced to resign. The Adams-Soudis affair was actually all over the papers at the time. But some of the political media in Ottawa, they love nothing more than a disaffected Conservative who will speak ill of the party and its leader. It's a long-standing tradition in politics. Be right back with a few more calls on Talkback today on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Talking about federal politics today, getting your opinions. The House of Commons back in action 2 weeks removed from the big federal budget coming November 4th. Layoffs in the auto sector. How is Prime Minister Carney doing in your opinion? And there are all kinds of rumblings and grumblings in certain corners of the Conservative movement about the future of Pierre Poilievre and speculation. Maybe it's time to turf this guy. What do you think about the job Poilievre is doing? Scott in Kitchener is up next. Hi, Scott.
Robbie, what's going on?
Well, Scotty, not much. After work, I'm going to take a nice long nap and watch the baseball game tonight and go Jays
nice.
Go.
You got a heck of a good show. I like listening to you every day. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Anyway, I think the Liberal Party, as always, like your last caller alluded to, is always we're gonna, and they never seem to. They're masters of the look at here while we do this and we do nothing, and look over here, we're going to say this, and just I think Carney's a joke. I honestly think he's a joke.
Okay.
He managed to bamboozle Canadians, which is so embarrassing with their elbows
with the
up
elbows up and that kind of stuff. Okay.
Terrible. And
okay.
Harping always on Pierre, that what's the matter if he is maybe a little bit more aligned with Trump? We all have to work together, right? We're trying. Everybody's trying their darndest to get a good trade deal with the U.S. What is wrong with being a little bit more aligned? Maybe it'd be an awesome thing for Canada if we were a little bit more aligned with the U.S. and maybe saw our resources and our stuff the way the U.S. sees their resources.
Well, in fact, I mean, the last time, the reaction when Mark Carney went to Washington and met Trump the last time, it was described as a bromance, and Trump was saying wonderful things about Mark Carney and what a great leader Mark Carney is. And there's Mark Carney, he's praising Trump, calling him transformative and praising his handling of the situation in the Middle East and his leadership of NATO, all of these things. It's like they're old friends and pals.
It would almost be hard to be critical of a guy who's licking your boot, isn't it? Almost like overly.
All right.
Isn't it? But I really think they've done nothing. I think Poilievre speaks a lot of truth, and I don't think these rumors about him, the knives are out for him, and all this stuff. It's the way Canada is now. It's the way politics is now. You just got to get something out there and let it kind of gather traction, talk about it a bit more, even if it's not true. And Canadians seem to be so naive, and it'll gather traction, I'm sure, with some people, but the majority of people, I think, are aligned with Poilievre's thoughts. I know I am, and I know there's a lot of more Canadians like me. I'm not the only one.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Hey, thank you for all your calls today. Great to be back with you today. Back tomorrow with more topics and more of your opinions. The latest breaking news is coming up next on News Radio.